The way the company started was actually on a Friday night in June 19, back in 1981.
Yes.
I went to a restaurant bar and with a friend. Didn't go out on my boat that night, water skiing. We had met up with some friends, and I walked in and I saw Deb. And quite honestly, she was a new face in the crowd. We met. We really hit it off. Had a great time. Went dancing that night. And
We had that spark. It was that immediate spark.
And that's a good point.
Yes.
That spark is actually, that spark's what goes back
Absolutely.
to the beginning, when there are times of working together
Yes.
and building something together.
Yeah.
The spark is what kept us always focused
Absolutely.
on and balanced.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's the core of our relationship. And from that day forward, 32 years later, you know?
The spark is still there?
It's
Spark
still
is
there.
still there.
It's still there. Absolutely.
and it was actually that night that we went dancing.
Yes.
Went out to a club
Yeah.
in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yes.
Deb was assistant director of the Career Center at Indiana University, and I had just completed the development of a whole new concept of wellness centers. Actually spending money from a man who had built an empire and was the largest, still is the largest medical device supplier in the world. And I asked Deb if she wanted to go out on the boat on Saturday, and she couldn't. She was working. She was doing presentations, and so she said, "But I can on Sunday." And I said, well, on Sunday I'm going to hear a guy talk who has discovered some new technologies." And when I told her where it was I was going, he was on the back porch of a friend of his house. He was head chemist at one of the universities in Indiana. And Deb says, "I want to go."
Yeah.
So our first
That
date.
intrigued me.
Yeah.
What he had discovered. Yes.
So that was our first date.
Yes.
Was going to hear this gentleman talk, and we both left there intrigued. I asked you to marry me 4 or 5 months later,
Wow.
and then we got married.
4 months later.
4 months later,
Yes.
then got married. How many more?
6 months
6
later.
months later.
Yeah.
In Bloomington?
Yes. Yes.
Bloomington, Indiana.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we moved to California.
We did.
Moved
Yes.
actually to Malibu.
Yes.
And that's where I was leading the development of another wellness center in Pacific Palisades, Malibu area. And we stayed in touch with the chemist, and the chemist approached me 3 years later and said he was having a difficult time getting his technologies marketed out of Indiana, and he knew that we were enjoyed and were motivated by development.
Absolutely.
And said, if we can work out a program and a deal together, we'll give you the exclusive. And he became a partner of ours,
Yes.
and unfortunately has since died back in about 2000.
2000, 2001.
And
Yes.
he was
Yes.
an amazing chemist, but it was his
An educator.
an educator.
Yes.
That's true.
Mhm.
So that's how the company started. And the technology, he was the first to understand the use of vitamin C externally. Linus Pauling is given credit for the internal, and Dr. Keith Auld has much of the credit in research out of the University of Illinois and Ball State University. And
On the
Indiana,
external body.
On the external in
Yes.
Indiana University.